Hey, hello, 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 and good morning. Say hello in the chat box. Welcome to this Meet the Miniaturist special London edition. I see guys joining. We're to wait just another minute for folks to join. We are really heading at the top of the hour, but I'm going to wait a second because I usually start a few minutes early, but I didn't. So say hello if you are just joining. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And also, if any one of you guys who are watching are going to the London Dollshouse Festival, definitely say it in the chat box. Hey, East Midlands, UK. Hi, Sharon. Good to see you. Great to have fun folks here from London and the UK. Hi, Catherine, Queens, New York. There you go. Oh my goodness. How is everybody today? Please say hello in the chat box. Hey, Donnie D, I see you. Very good. I'm just checking out the attendees. Great to see everybody. Thank you so much. Before I introduce our special guest, hi, Julia. Great to see you. Tanya, UK, and she's going to Kensington. Excellent. Emma from, well, we've got a lot of Londoners. Good to see everybody. Wow. Very nice. Hi there. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, let me go ahead and start. I will start by saying hello. And if you don't know who I am Darren, and I have a little business called D. Thomas Miniatures. I sell miniatures for a living, but what I love to do is promote them every chance I get and talk about them every chance I get. And that's what this Meet the Miniature series is all about. I do want to share a couple of things, what's going on in my neck of the woods before we bring on our special guests. As I mentioned, I do love to promote miniatures, and right now, I have a very special exhibition happening in Bushwick, New York called Urban Blooms. It's a spring miniature flower show. It's happening right now at Stems Brooklyn, which is a florist in this awesome section of Brooklyn, New York, which is just popping with creativity and energy. It's got an awesome vibe. And so there are 18 artists, 24 pieces representing thousands of individual petals, stems, and buds. And these artists come from 10 different countries around the world. So it's a very special show showcasing some of the finest miniaturists and miniature florals by some of the best artists making miniatures on the planet, I would say. So check that out. I'm going to put all of the links in the comment section in a moment so you'll be able to find all this stuff. Also, for local folks, I will be talking at the Hudson River Museum on Sunday. It's called Miniatures on Mother's Day, and I'm going to be talking about this. They have an awesome 24-room miniature mansion on permanent exhibition at the museum, and I'll be talking about miniatures. I'll be talking about the dollhouse. I'll be talking about storytelling. So do check that out if you are local. It's in Yonkers, New York. And then finally, hold a date, May 30th. I will be talking to the professor of anthropology at the University of Nebraska. Her name, I don't have her name in front of me, I'm sorry. But she will be talking about the Eloise Kruger collection, which is part of their permanent collection now. And we're going to be talking about all the amazing things that this woman is doing to spread the word about the collection, to teach about miniatures, to engage the students, to showcase and exhibit. So May 30th, look for that. It's going to be a pretty awesome Meet the Miniature. It's going to be an awesome mini-versity, actually, because it's going to be more of a, it's going to be more of a lecture, I think. So if you guys have any questions about anything I just talked about, please do send me a direct DM. I will be happy to send you the links. Otherwise, please continue to follow me because that's how you find out everything that's going on in my neck of the woods. So with that, I would like to bring up Charlotte Stokoe and Emma Waddell from London. I'm going to go ahead and bring up there. I'm going to bring up there. Hold on, start your video. So these two ladies, they are important ladies in the London Dollshouse miniature scene. And I'm so glad to have you both on today. So just so you guys know what we're going to be talking about today is all of the amazing things that are happening in London right now around miniatures. It's just like all the planets are aligning right now. Not only is the London Dollshouse Festival happening next week, which Charlotte has been running for 20 years now, but we also have to talk about the PIMA Awards, which is a big part of the Dollshouse Festival. And we're also going to be talking about Queen Mary's Doll's House. And then the amazing exhibition that's happening at the Bankside Gallery through the Royal Miniature Society. There's just so much happening, and I'm so glad to have both of you here. Why don't we start with you, Emma? This is actually our first time meeting. I'm so glad to meet you.
Oh,
Folks know, but
this is fun.
you have so much going on. You have a miniature design company that you run. You're also a judge on Best in Miniature, which is a Canadian broadcast reality show, and you're a judge on the PIMA Awards. So let's get right to it. Let's spend a few minutes. Let's talk about your background, how you got into miniatures, what you do, and then let's get into the PIMA Awards.
The main thing about me is the biggest thing about me is that I'm a collector,
Ah,
massive collector. Art belongs to miniatures. So as you can probably see, that's one of my small ones. I have my house. I've lost my home to dolls' houses. They are everywhere, and they are full to bursting with miniature things because I absolutely love everything miniature. And I've been collecting since I was 10, which was 11 years ago now.
wow.
Oh, you believe that? You believe anything? So
You,
I
yeah.
love all things miniature.
You love all things miniature. I'm sorry to mention that you're a collector. So you're a collector, you're an enthusiast, you're also a host, you're also a judge. You have a lot going on, and that's amazing. Tell us a little bit about your experience with Best in Miniature. As people get to start to know who you are, how has that been for you? How has it been being on the show? Is it still happening? Is there another season happening? Talk a little bit about your experience on Best in Miniature.
So Best in Miniature was they were kind of trying to feel their way into this emerging market. They'd never heard of it before. They didn't know what it was about. But everybody on the show, once they started to see what we could do, what the contestants could do, and the enthusiasm and the absolute love for it, everybody on the show, from the producer to the runners, were completely hooked on it. And every single one of them now is a miniaturist. They love it. I
Yeah.
mean, how can they? And they didn't realize,
Yeah.
pardon the pun, how big this small industry is
Yeah.
and how much of an art form it is. It's not the first thing you think of is when people say, "Do you like doll houses or you're into doll houses?" They say, "Oh, my kids love it." Or I had a
Exactly.
Barbie when I just want to go, no, no. It's not about that. It's an art form. It's
Yeah.
meticulous, beautiful, created miniatures that you pour your heart and soul into making. It's got nothing to do with really little girls playing, but that's how we start. That's how I
Yeah.
started.
And I would argue that today the younger folks know the difference and they do see
Yeah,
miniatures, maybe not as fine art, but they don't see it necessarily as child's playthings. So we have definitely come a far way. And I think shows like Best in Miniature do that. It showcases
yeah.
miniatures in a different way. And so what season are you in now or headed into or
Um, Free has just come out on TV, so I think that's just been out in Canada. So, and you never know if there's going to be a four. You just don't know. You just never know. So I
yeah.
don't know.
Right. So let's talk about the PIMA Awards. You are
Mhm.
a judge at the PIMA Awards, and if you guys don't know, tell us a little bit about what the PIMA Awards are. Am I saying that correctly, Charlotte? PIMA
Yeah,
Awards.
that's
Okay? It's the Perfection in Miniature Awards.
yeah. And I say PIMA, but actually that's just my pronunciation. Actually, it should really be PIMA, should it? Be
PIMA.
PIMA. I don't
PIMA.
know. I don't know, but I always call it the PIMA PIMA Awards. I don't know. Say it how you like, Darren. It really
But it's
doesn't matter.
okay to duplicate PIMA and awards because that's my biggest question. PIMA
Yeah,
Awards.
that's
Say
yeah, I
Perfection in
know. I
Miniature
know.
Awards awards.
Yeah,
Anyway, I'm
that's fine.
sorry, I digressed. All right. So Charlotte, tell us about the PIMA Awards, what they are before we have Emma talk about what it means to be a judge and what she might be looking for as a judge.
Yeah, they started maybe not, I think it was 9 years ago, 2015. And it was actually a collector who approached me and said that they wanted to create these awards to really highlight the skill of the exhibitors we had showing at Kensington and to maybe push them and allow them to do something that maybe they wouldn't do just for the show. They have to, try something a bit different, try something they hadn't tried before. So that is really how it all began. And since then, it's become sort of the highlight of the summer show, is to see what incredible things our exhibitors create for the awards every year.
Yeah, yeah. And I just put up on the screen, these are some of the previous award winners.
Yes.
And I think, so it's been 9 years. I can't believe it's been that long. But what I think the PIMA Awards really do is just super highlights the level of detail and accuracy and artistry in these. And I think you've done just such a great job, because there's really nothing else on the planet. Maybe IGMA to some extent, but this is more of an award. So, it's just amazing what you're doing, and it's an important part of what you do,
Yes.
a part of the miniatures world. So Emma, is this your first judging, or you've done this before?
I have done this before, but looking at the photographs, I'm just reminded of how clever the winners are. But everybody who takes part, it's a chance for them to show the best that they can produce. But if they produce something that's brilliant one year, the next year they'll say, do you know what, I can do better? And then they'll produce something better. So it's a chance for everybody to show something at the top of their game. And it's also a chance for us to show other people outside our industry, if you think this is for kids or you think this is a toy, look at this.
Yeah.
And then they say, that's real, isn't it? And I say, no, that's about 3 inches in size. This is a working umbrella, or that is a hand carved chair, or that is real silver. And it blows my mind. This is a chance to show everybody how good everybody is.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the challenges for these awards is that you're judging against multiple categories. And so that is one of the challenges. So you might have an art doll sitting side by side with a beautiful hardwood burlwood chest. So talk a little bit about how you might be judging things like that. How, in your mind, what are the things that are elevated, that raise up for you when you're looking at an awesome art doll and an awesome hardwood chest? How do you go about figuring out what makes that better or award winning?
There is something that I usually it's quite a simple thing for me. If you took a photograph of it, could you tell from that photograph if that was real or is it miniature? Is there something that gives it away? Is there the minutest detail that is a telltale sign that this is not real? Is there something that doesn't look quite right? Is the eyes or something in the shaping, or something that shows it's laser cut, for example?
Yeah.
A tiny, minuscule giveaway that this is not a real life item. If there's nothing that will give it away, then that for me is perfection. And then it's just trying to find out that tiniest detail, which one is slightly better than the other. But that's what it is. You photograph it and see what you can spot.
And I guess that's the name of the award, right? It's perfection in miniature. So you're looking for the absolute perfection. But then when you get, I mean, I'm going to push back a little bit, because then when you get to an art doll, how are you judging on an art doll? Because that is not perfect in miniature, because it's a doll and it's the person. How, and I guess my question will be, how much do emotions play in to how you feel about a piece? Just what's striking at your heart that is saying, that is a freaking perfect miniature.
I think one of the photographs you showed was Sarah Henry. She normally made animals, but she actually made, if you look at what she made, there is so much movement in it. In real life, if you see that, if the skin has wrinkles in it, that actually looks like an old woman with movement, and everything, every tiny facet, every fingernail is sculptured and has movement. You can't find better. I mean, that is not a doll, that is a person who has been shrunk. You can't wish for better. I mean, her animals are amazing, but she's out of her comfort zone for PIMA and made the doll just to say, look, you know what, I can do this as well. And to be honest, that's the most incredible. I mean, I might not want it in my house, but oh my God, it was perfection in miniature. And that's exactly what she did.
I love it. I love it. Wow. It's so great hearing you talk about miniatures, because you can tell you have just such a passion for them. And it's nice. It's really nice.
Yeah, I do. I love it. It makes your heart sing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to heart sing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. That really is awesome.
I have some rubbish. It makes my heart sing, but it's rubbish. But I love it.
So do you not do art dolls? I mean, I don't want to digress too far. What's your feeling on art doll character dolls?
Um, I have I do have some dolls, but they were made by a lady who meant a lot to me. So although I don't like dolls particularly, I loved the lady who made them, and we lost her a few years ago. Veronica Ann Pickup. She made the most beautiful dolls, but I don't like them. But I loved her, and we lost
Yeah.
her to cancer. So every time I see one of her dolls, they remind me of her. Not particularly the dolls, but so I love them. But probably my favourite dolls are the most ugliest, ridiculous dolls you've ever seen, and it has curlers in its hair, and it's ridiculous, badly sculpted, cross-eyed with a funny mouth and big nose, and it looks a little bit like my grandmother. And that's probably why I like it. And it's
Yeah.
terrible. It was about $10. It was absolutely awful, but
Yeah.
it's one of my favourites. But it makes my heart sing.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, that's what's important, especially being a collector. Not everything
Yeah.
has to be super perfect. It doesn't all have to be Chanel and Louis Vuitton. It could be Target. If that black t-shirt calls out to you, have that in your closet.
Exactly. That's it. You're
I
right.
tell people
That's
all
all.
the time, it's really about what speaks to you
Yeah.
and how you feel about it. And if it makes you happy, that is ultimately what is important.
That's right,
So
Darren.
all right. So thank you for that, PIMA Awards. Let's talk a little. Let's talk to you, Charlotte. Tell us.
Sorry,
Yes.
Darren, can I just
Yeah.
say a few things? The
Yeah.
first one is Emma didn't mention that when she judged the award last time, it was during lockdown. And so there wasn't actually a live show going on, but everyone had sent their entries to me at my home, and she had to come to my home, and we had to do social distancing judging. And we had the other judge was on Zoom.
Oh, wow.
And so it was kind of a strange experience. So this will be her first time judging this summer with other people in the proper
Oh,
environment.
really? Oh, wow. That's exciting. All right. Wow.
And
That's an extra added challenge, boy. Boy.
and also another mention about Sarah Hendry's doll. She came to me at the last minute and said, I've changed my entry. I've changed my entry. Her husband had said to her, she'd been going to enter something else, and she'd made this amazing doll. And her husband had said to her, you can't enter that doll. It's so ugly. No one's going to love that doll. It's creepy. It's scary. It's horrible. But she loved it. She said, no, I'm going to enter it. And of course, we all felt the same as her husband. It was creepy and, ugly and old and wrinkly.
Yeah.
But it was just so incredible. It had eyelashes. It had, as Emma said, fingernails. It was just
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. I've never been an art doll person, but I get them in estate sales and going through collections and studying them and research. I have an appreciation for art dolls like I've never had before, and they're amazing. They're amazing. Some of them are crazy amazing. All right.
One
So
other thing,
yes,
sorry,
yeah.
last thing.
No, sorry.
I just wanted to mention the wonderful Lawrence St. Ledger, who's sadly no longer with us. But he, when you were looking at the photos, he won the very first PIMA award with his tiny Swiss Army knife that had 7 working little tools on it. And then a few years later, he won again with the working umbrella. So he was kind of the one to beat for many years because his work was always so great.
Yeah. And what was the name of the maker?
Lawrence St. Ledger, who's sadly not with us anymore, but his wife Angela is still making. So she's not at the show this year, but you are able to buy from her still because they worked as a team. They did their work together. So she's carrying on and making her wonderful miniature mechanical toys.
Yeah, the Automatomica. Is that how you
Yeah.
say what's Automica? Amazing toys. Amazing. Their work is just amazing.
Yeah.
So Charlotte, talk a little bit about the festival that's coming up. You've been doing this now, celebrating your 20th anniversary but the show has been around for 40 years. What can we look forward? Oh, what is that? Is that like a commemorative book?
This is my catalogue for the show. It's the
look at
top
that.
of the press.
Oh, that's a
So
keeper.
yeah, 40 years old this year. And I've been running the show for 20 years. So yeah, big year for us this year.
Well, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Great. Very nice.
I want one. Oh, well.
Do we get those as
We'll get one, yes.
Oh, I'm
Everyone
so
who comes
excited.
to the show will get one free of charge.
Oh my
when you come
goodness,
in.
that's
Yeah.
a keeper. Oh my goodness. So the show is next week.
Yes.
And I just wanted to talk a little bit about what makes the show so special. And I think, you know, for me, I'm coming over there, and one of the biggest reasons I'm coming there is because I will be able to see vendors that you won't see anywhere in the world. These are some artists who just don't travel for whatever reason. And so that's one of the most exciting things. Not only that, but you will have awesome talent featured at the show. So talk a little bit about the differences and talk a little about the show and why folks should travel from all over the world to come to see it.
Well, I think when the show was established in 1985 by Caroline Hamilton and Sue Atkinson, they, again, like Emma, they were collectors, they were enthusiasts, they loved miniatures. So they wanted somewhere where people could come together and really enjoy miniatures, the best exhibitors from around the world, the collectors, the enthusiasts all got together. So there was always an amazing atmosphere at the show. And because our venue is not huge, it's not never ending, it meant that we could only have a certain amount of exhibitors at the show, which was great because it meant, we have to only have the best, you know, you had to be invited to come. You can't just apply and you'll get a table. So this has always meant that the show has this very high standard of the best makers coming to the event.
So it's not only juried, it's extra juried because you really do have to put a stake in it in terms of how many you can let in. Interesting. So even to this day, there's really no room.
No, we still have to see work before we offer a table. And it's not that it's all really expensive out of, you know, very high end. We want children and people to come to the show and be able to go away with something that they've bought. But we're making sure that the people who come are the best in that price range or the best in that area that they specialize in. So that's always been our aim, is just to be the best and make sure that there's something for everyone at the show. I would say 75% of the exhibitors we have, you won't find at any other show in Europe or the UK, you know.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm coming over, because that's the word when I talk to people. Oh, you got to go to the London show because, and that is the first thing they say. And so I can't wait to get there.
Can I say what it feels like?
Yeah.
You know, when the kids all get the golden ticket and they go into Willy Wonka's Magical Factory and they walk in and go, wow, that is what I did the first time I went to Kensington. You walk in and you go, oh,
giving me goosebumps.
That magical thing, what you get.
I gotta pace myself. I gotta pace my heart. Okay. So you also, what's extra exciting is everything that's going on this year with especially with the Queen Mary's Dollshouse being 100.
Yes.
So we wanted to, and you've organized 2 wonderful tours, which are all sold out, by the way, guys. So don't get too excited. They are sold out, but you were able to organize private tours of the Dollshouse, which is amazing. I'm excited that I'll be going on at least one of them. But what we want to do today, because Charlotte is on the ground in London, has experience and exposure to the Dollshouse, we wanted to take you guys at home through some wonderful photographs and visuals of the Dollshouse, of the Queen Mary's Dollshouse, and talk a little bit about what's so special about it. So I do have just some opening shots of oh wait, hold on. Did I do that? Hold on, let me get rid of that. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to just share just a few, there's a few slides here, if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about this lady. And
this is the lady behind Queen Mary's Dollshouse. It's not Queen Mary, it's actually one of her childhood, you know, long lifetime friends, and she was called Princess Mary Louise. And she had this idea that she wanted, you know, she knew Queen Mary loved decorative items, loved, you know, beauty, and she wanted to create something special for her. And she came up with this idea of a doll's house. And she then started talking to Sir Edwin Lutyens, who's was at the time the foremost architect in the UK and very famous for a lot of country houses. And at the time, he was actually rebuilding New Delhi. He was doing a lot of building out in India. This is in 1921. And anyway, they talked about it, and he said, yes, I'm going to design this doll's house. And so he was the guy who designed the style of the doll's house, which is, for a doll's house, quite unusual because it's open all sides. And when you go and visit it, the exterior of the doll's house, as you can see there, is lifted up above the house. So it looks like it's enormous. It's actually not as big as you think when you see it, because that obviously all comes down over the interior of the house. So it's quite an unusual design for a doll's house. There aren't many houses where you can see all the way around like that. So it took 3 years to complete, and they asked over 1,500 different craftsmen, artists, writers, designers to contribute to the doll's house. So there are a few miniaturists who are involved, but often it would be people who made the real size items were asked to produce something in miniature. So the china, I believe, is by Wedgwood. The clocks were mostly made by Cartier. The cars were Rolls-Royce and Daimler cars. So there was a lot of craftsmen. It was kind of showcasing the UK's craftsmen and their skills. And that's what they wanted the house to represent. And they wanted it to represent how the royal family might have lived at the time. So it was a historical record, really, of what a stately home would have been like in the beginning half of the 1920s. And I think that's really important, a really important thing to remember, that dolls' houses often are a way of seeing how life was lived at the time that they were made.
From what I understand, this is kind of the first time the general public got to see how the royals lived. They got to see for a first time because of a lot of people got to see this on exhibition. It didn't go right to Windsor Castle right away. It went on tour for a while, right?
Yeah, it was at the, I've got it written down here because I couldn't remember where it went. It was exhibited at the British Empire exhibition from 1924 to 25. And I think it was seen by, a million people or something came to see it, a huge amount. And it then got moved to Windsor Castle, where it was open to it was put in a special room, which is the same room it's in today. So when you go, Darren, on Thursday, you'll be in the room that was built specially for the doll's house, to view the doll's house. It's not a very big room, I'm warning you, but
it looks beautiful. Huge in the pictures.
It's not. And the money raised from people viewing the doll's house then went to support the Queen's favourites charities. So it was always meant to be something that was going to benefit the British people, really.
Was there also a component of they were just coming out of World War I, and this was sort of a way to lighten lighten things up and give back to the people during that really, really difficult time?
I think so. And also the way that they had all the craftsmen in the UK is mainly UK craftsmen who contributed. It's not really international. It's very English or UK based. And so it was a way of sort of, acknowledging how good the UK's were at all these very particular skills. And yeah, after the war, obviously it was a good way to get people to really feel good about what they're doing again.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the highlights in this doll's house. I mean, yeah, you just mentioned like some of the best makers of the time. I think Cartier made the clocks. Is that right?
Yeah, and I don't want to say too much at this point because you will see when you get the catalogue, but we have been following the story of someone who I just happened to get put in touch with, whose great-great-great-grandfather made something for the doll's house. but he never knew they don't know what he made, and there's been no record of what he made. So I don't want to say too much, but you will, and I'll post it on our website after the show, but you'll see whether we discover what it was he made or not. But yeah,
oh, wow. Yeah.
the clock is a is a hint.
Oh, okay. All right.
But most of the clocks are made by Cartier, yeah.
And so let's talk about some of the awesome, I mean, it's an awesome house, but like things like hot and cold running water.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
what are some of the highlights that you can call out?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, it obviously had the running water. It had a flushing toilet that actually worked. It had an lift, an elevator that worked. It obviously had electricity, which isn't that unusual now. It had a garage full of cars with engines in. We're not sure if the engines actually work, but they were certainly in the cars. The two most famous rooms are probably the library, which had, I think it's got about, I can't remember how many books, but there were famous authors of the time wrote all the books for the library. They hand wrote in these miniature books a new story. So there's a book by Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote Sherlock Holmes, obviously. There's a book by A.A. Milne, who wrote Winnie the Pooh. J.M. Barrie, who wrote Peter Pan. The list goes on and on and on of the authors that wrote books for Queen Mary's library. And one of the ways they're celebrating its 100th birthday this year is that they've got 12 new books that have been written by modern day popular authors such as Sebastian Faulks, Jacqueline Wilson, Anthony Horowitz, and they've all written books for the library now. So they've got 12 new books to go in the library. So that the library is very, very famous, and they've actually published a new book this year, which will be available at the show to buy, about just the library, because it's such an incredible collection of miniature books. Yeah. And then the other room that's very special is the wine cellar, which is full of, I think it's got 1,200 bottles of champagne and wine, which has all got real champagne and wine in them. The best vintages of the time, and it was all provided by Berry Brothers, which were the oldest wine merchant at the time, and they still go. They've still got a shop in Mayfair, Berry Brothers, and they provided all the wine in these tiny little bottles, and they're all there in the cellar. So it's quite amazing.
I mean, and we haven't even touched upon all of the painted artwork, the murals, the paintings, the frescoes, yes. the ceilings being painted. I mean, it just can go on and on and on. I mean, it's it's incredible. And I understand there was a refurbishing project that happened over the last several years that just cleaned a lot of it up.
Yes, yeah, if you go onto their website, actually, they've got the Royal Collection have got a fantastic archive on the Doll's House, and you can see some films of how they clean and repair items in the Doll's House and catalogue them. And I would say the most interesting, in a way, area of the Doll's House for miniaturists is the garden, which was designed by Gertrude Jekyll, who was a real garden designer, and she worked with Lutyens on his other big houses, and she designed the garden. But actually, a miniaturist called Beatrice Hindley made all the flowers and plants for the garden, and she was a proper miniaturist. She wasn't someone who did big size things. She only obviously did miniature flowers, which ties in well with your flower exhibition, Darren, in New York. But her flowers are very collectible now. They come up for auction every now and again, and they're, if you think they're 100 years old now, the quality of her work is amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. Wow. All right. Why don't we take a question or two before we go on to talk about the Royal Miniature Society and what's happening there? So we did have a question. Can we purchase the catalog from the show and have it sent to New York? That's a great question. Do you have any left? I don't know. You tell them.
Yeah, we do actually do that. So what we do after the show, any we have left over, if you contact me by, Facebook or Instagram, I do have to charge postage, but we're happy to post them out to anyone who wants one. Yeah.
The book about the Queen Mary's Library, And also there's another book. There are two books. I think they're available on Amazon, right? I mean, I bought mine from Amazon, so I would think that even the book about the books, that could, I don't have that one. But I would think you could get them both on Amazon, right?
Yeah, and if not, I know you can get them via the Royal Trust's Royal Collections website.
Okay.
But we will have them at the show as well for anyone who's coming.
Okay. Um, where is the best opportunity to tour the Dollhouse next year? Will there be an opportunity? I mean, the Doll's House is on view all the time based
Yeah.
on the Royal Trust's, opening hours. But I don't know about private tours. I don't think they do private tours, right? No.
No, I think this year is a great year to see it because not only can you visit the Doll's House, but they've taken some pieces out of the Doll's House and created an exhibition in another room in Windsor. So you can really get up close to some of the key pieces that are normally in the Doll's House. So if you can get there this year, that's the best time to see it, I think. But it's open all year round otherwise.
But is it true that it's always crowded? Is that true? Like I
It's
hear all the
such a
time.
small room. Yeah, it's such a tiny room that the Doll's House is in. It as I say, especially done. So it can be crowded. So I recommend if you go probably first thing in the morning,
Because
and
they
make
move you
sure they're
along. It's like you can't really spend
yeah,
time with it.
yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
so advice, go early or maybe
Yeah,
late in the day, maybe. I don't
yeah,
know. Okay.
exactly.
All right. Okay. Let's talk about what's going on with the Royal Miniature Society and that exhibition that's starting. Talk a little bit about the background. Tell us about the Royal Miniature Society and how the PIMA Awards got involved.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll start off by saying because it was such a special year for the PIMA Awards this year, well, the Queen Mary's Dolls House, we decided to theme the PIMA Awards this year on Queen Mary's Dolls House. And luckily, the Royal Collections have been working with us on this. And we thought, well, what would have happened if the Dolls House had been made after 1924? What would have been put in it that wasn't invented, at the time it was made. So we asked our exhibitors to make something from 1924 to 2024. So anything in that period. So everything's quite modern that's been made for the competition this year. And I've been looking for somewhere because I'm sure you feel the same, that, we feel miniatures are overlooked by the general public. So for years, I've been trying to find somewhere where I can show the winners of the competition to say, look, this is what miniatures are.
Yeah.
They are incredible. They are, real works of art. So please don't just think they're something for your child's doll's house. So I suddenly just clicked and I thought I'd heard of the Royal Miniature Society, which is a society that is for miniatures. I mean, so you'd think it's an obvious connection. It's not quite the same. They were established in 1896, and actually miniature painting was a big thing way back to medieval. It started in kind of medieval times when they were doing illuminated manuscripts, and they'd have to be doing these tiny little paintings, and it kind of developed from there. And then, you see these historical dramas, and the husband will receive, or the future husband will receive a little miniature portrait of the woman who's going to marry, he's going to marry. It's like a photograph. It's like something that they would use to see whether they like the look of someone.
Right.
So miniature painting was very, very important until obviously photography came in, and then it kind of went out of fashion.
Right,
and
but it was never about dollhouse miniature.
No, this is
It was
totally
really about small art. And that's very
and
similar to what's happens here in the United States. Small miniature art in the fine art world is anything less than 6 inches.
Yeah, they say 6 inches by 4 inches is the maximum size.
Right.
But what their aim is, and I read this off their website, and I thought this is exactly what we do.
Yeah.
Protect and practice the traditional 16th century of art of miniature work, emphasizing the infinite patience needed. And that's exactly what we do. I mean, the patience you need to have as I haven't got it, as a miniaturist is incredible. you know, you have to be able to block out everything and just concentrate on what you're doing. And that's obviously what they do as well. And when I contacted them and I showed them the photos of what we get as entries for the competition, they said, yeah, sure, why don't you join our summer exhibition and have some of your entries on display at our show. So it's very exciting.
So is this the first time that Dollhouse Miniatures will be seen in that category of art? I guess I don't know how else to call it. Miniature art.
Yeah, it is. It's the first time they've had Dollshouse Miniatures at their exhibition. You'll meet Ray, who's the president of Winder, who's the president of the society. He's going to be one of our judges for the PIMA. And yeah, so they have miniature sculpture as well in their exhibition. But, you know, it's not quite the same. It's just not quite the same. Their paintings and their sculpture couldn't really be put into a doll's house. It's not quite the same, but it just works so well together.
Yeah. Well, bravo. Congratulations. Thank you. That's a great thing that you're doing, bridging these gaps, bridging these two together, because me too, personally, it's all about trying to encourage folks to see dollhouse miniatures, the only way I like to say it, as fine art. So you're doing a great thing. And so we did get a question about when and where. So I think when is the show open? The
Royal Miniatures Show. Yeah. It's opening on the 26th of June until I believe it's the 6th of July. And it's at Bankside Gallery, which is right next to Tate Modern. So we're right in the next to that huge art amazing center. And then the Bankside Gallery is right next door. So it couldn't be in a better location.
Well, maybe there's an opportunity for a little virtual Meet the Miniaturist live stream walking through the gallery, if there's a possibility. Let's see. So the pieces that will go into the show will be a combination of are they PIMA award winners or a combination of, like, how will that work?
It will be the winners of the competition and also some of the runners up. So we will decide, because I think it's important that we take to the Royal Miniature Society exhibition a really good cross-section of what miniaturists do. So it won't necessarily be the pieces that scored the highest. It will be a nice cross-section of different areas of miniaturism.
And how many pieces are going in the Bansky?
I think it's going to be about 10 to 15 pieces, depending on what we have. Yeah.
Pieces. That is exciting. That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Let's see if we have any other questions before I let the ladies go and spend the rest of their day. Where that show will be. Someone said that they waited for the tour group and it moved fast. That's great. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you both. I can't wait to see both of you next week. It's going to be exciting to come to the show, to see Queen Mary's Doll's House. It's going to be awesome. And thank you for spending this time with us. It's great that what both of you are doing for the miniatures world, both with you, Emma, and all of your work on Best in Miniature and spreading that word from a commercial standpoint to the rest of the world. And of course, what you're doing, Charlotte, with the show and connecting that to everything that's great that's going on. Thank you at home, you guys, for watching today. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And thank you for joining. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.